I now recognize Honorable Daniels.
Can I get this time House Chairperson as 53 seconds?
Don't worry, you'll be given your appropriate time.
Thank you so much, and good afternoon, Honorable House Chair, Honorable Minister, Deputy Minister, fellow colleagues, fellow South Africans. The Patriotic Alliance rejects those parties who want to blackmail South Africa when things don't go their way. Those who operate like members of members. And now South Africa is held at blackmail until the members reinstated. We don't roll that way. So, you know, the biggest problem with budgets, as we all appreciate the fact that it's the officials who manages the implementation of the budgets. Us politicians fight each other, whether we're going to approve or not approve, then the problem is actually with the officials. I'll come to that now. You know, when I've listened to the Honorable Minister, I want to thank you, Minister, for your uncomfortable truths when you mentioned that we've got so much foreign nationals who takes up so much of our budget, and it affects the whole system by investing so much money on foreign nationals, because we spend around 358 million rand a month to keep foreign nationals in our prisons. How far can that money not go? I also heard the Honorable Minister make reference to bringing corporal punishment back. As the PA, many buys on your Honorable Minister. Corporal punishment is mildly put. Bring back the death penalty. You kill someone, be prepared to be killed. Now, you know, Honorable House Chair, I want to say that what we suggest as a Patriotic Alliance is that money must be, can I be protected, please, Honorable House Chairperson?
Honorable members, let us not howl that much that we drown the speaker on the podium. Honorable Daniel, please, can you take a seat? I think there's a point of order. Yes, Honorable Member.
Yes, House Chair. No, I think we should not be mischievous and call for things that are not.
What is your point of order?
The honorable member is calling for a death penalty to be returned. If there was a death penalty in this country, his president would not be alive.
That
today.
is the point of
debate. Would be dead if there was a death
Honorable
penalty.
member, that is the point of order. Can you please?
But if people the same child that gates in court,
Honorable member,
don't call for a death penalty when your president was.
Honorable member, I'm cautioning you again. You can't do that. I gave you an opportunity, and I did say that that is not a point of order, it's a point of debate. And I asked you to not continue, switch off your mic. So you can't then proceed on that manner. Honorable Daniels, please take the podium.
Thank you, Honorable House Chair. I just want to register a point, and that is that you don't point at me when you talk to me. I see that as a threat, and I don't take threats lightly. I don't take threats lightly.
Honorable Daniels, I'm requesting you to continue with your speech, please.
Thank you, House Chair.
Honorable members, no. Let us not drown the speaker on the podium. Let us not drown the speaker on the podium. And I did not recognize you to speak. No, I did not recognize you to speak. You address it to me. Why are you pressing your mic? Honorable members, no. No, I am honorable member. That is not allowed. And I'm telling you, I've asked Honorable Daniels to focus on the speech that he's going to give now. And I'm addressing a matter of an honorable member pressing a mic without being recognized. It has nothing to do with what Honorable Daniel said. So when I am addressing that, you cannot tell me that I must address Honorable Daniels. It's not him that pressed the mic. And she knows who am I speaking to, because I saw. So can we please have that level of respect? as members of parliament. Honorable Daniels, please continue with.
Thank you, Honorable House Chairperson. We want to suggest as a patriotic alliance that those in the four corners, there's so much skills that they acquire over the years, but when they leave there, there's no accreditation for such skills acquired. And we therefore request that they must be afforded accreditation for the work they do in metalwork, woodwork, clothing manufacturing, and other things that they are doing, so that when they come out there and they reintegrate with society, they can then be able to find meaningful jobs with the accredited qualifications. It doesn't have to signify that it's from a correctional service center. It can just be from a government institution. And lastly, Chairperson, I want to address the Minister and the Deputy Minister. When I said the officials are in charge of the budgets and how they sometimes abuse the budget, we are sitting with an area commissioner at St. Albans Prison from Venda, Mr. Netshiva Zwaulo. For almost 3 years, he's staying in a hotel when he's deployed to St. Albans in Nelson Mandela Bay. He draws S&Ts. And you must see the houses that they have. I went to go look at the houses at St. Albans. There's beautiful houses, even better than the ones we live in as parliamentarians. So that is wasteful expenditure. It just shows you how the officials abuse the money, because one even was blatant to say, I'm building my house with this S&Ts that I'm getting every month. So I request the Minister and the Deputy Minister to look into that. That is unnecessary, and that is how our budgets go askew and pear-shaped, and then we have to account to the other South Africans when things don't work out for us. I thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Member. I now recognize Honorable Tena.
Thank you, House Chair. House Chair, the mandate of the Department of Correctional Services, as derived from the relevant legislation, is to ensure the safe and humane detention of offenders and remand detainees. In other words, ensuring that criminals and those who are accused of crimes are removed from society for a certain amount of time under humane conditions to ensure the safety of those of us who are law-abiding citizens, as well as rehabilitation of these sentenced offenders, and to reintegrate them back into society, ideally having seen the error of their ways, thus wanting to contribute meaningfully to society without again posing a threat to the rest of us. This is an enormous ask, which, looking at South Africa's recidivism rate and all the social ills and factors that fuel it, very little of which actually being within the control of the Department of Correctional Services, has to date not been addressed very successfully. Emphasizing the need for realistic targets, clear direction, and the political will to obtain and maintain the necessary performance. Which brings me to the targets the department has set for itself. The committee report notes two aspects that stand out regarding targets. One, the committee is of the opinion that there is a misalignment between expenditure and performance of the department, and two, that some targets compared to previous years have been lowered, requesting that targets should be adjusted higher. And yes, targets should always be set to improve on current performance. But what is the exact context here? It is an old ANC government tendency to set unrealistic targets that look good on paper, but are never really achieved. This we have seen in all spheres of government for the past 30 plus years, from local to national. Targets, Chairperson, should be realistic, and once a realistic target is achieved, a higher target can be set. And taking into account the mess in which the 7th administration found this department to be, we welcome the realistic targets set by the department. You cannot run before you can walk, and in this case, this department has to learn to crawl first due to years upon years of mismanagement, corruption, and decay. Onder die bekwame leiding van minister Groenewald en sy span is 'n merkbare verskil in die funksionering van hierdie departement reeds te bespeur. Die selfvoorsienings- en volhoubaarheidsinisiatief wat deur die minister gedryf word, het reeds letterlik en figuurlik vrugte begin afwerp, soos die minister hier aan ons voorgehou het. Die agterstand en parole aansoeke van lewenslange gevonnistes, wat onder vorige administrasies bloot toegelaat is om op te hoop, is binne rekordtyd weggewerk, streng beoordeel en op meriete afgekeur waar nodig. Die funksionering van die paroolstelsel en rade word nou behoorlik onder die loep geneem en daar is 'n groter fokus as ooit op die oorbevolkingsprobleem in tronke met daadwerklike planne wat nie net by praat bly nie. Hierdie veranderinge is te wyte aan die feit dat die departement sy eie ministerie nou het, met 'n minister wat oor die politieke wil, kennis en vaardigheid beskik om werklike verskil te maak. 'n Vaardige span mense saam met hom het, sowel as die doelgerigte bestuur en beplanning wat hier in ons voorgehou is. Daar is baie probleme in hierdie departement. Die minister het dit eerlik hier aan ons voorgehou. Diepgewortelde korrupsie wat uitgeroei moet word, basiese boublokke wat oor jare heen afgeskeep is, soos omheinings, personeelprobleme, vervalle, fasiliteite ensovoorts. Rome is egter nie in 'n dag gebou nie. Daar sal nooit genoeg geld wees nie en verbeterde samewerking binne die justisiegroepering is nodig, maar die merkbare veranderinge na slegs 1 jaar gee hoop en die hoop beskaam nie. Dankie voorsitter.
Thank you, Honorable Member. I now recognize Honorable James.
Fellow South Africans, Honourable Chairperson, Action SA supports this budget, but let me be clear, we do so with serious reservations. Our correctional facilities are failing in their most basic purpose. They have become revolving doors of reoffence rather than centres of genuine rehabilitation. Just last year, 6,500 parolees reoffended. With 1.2 billion allocated to so-called social reintegration, why are we still failing and seeing those released recommit devastation in our communities? Let me tell you why. There is no behavioral tracking systems, no clear way to measure whether these programs are working or simply wasting our money. How can we call this rehabilitation? Many rehabilitation programs in our prisons aren't even accredited. We give them so much, yet they leave with nothing, wasting taxpayers' money. In 2022, the department outlined the concept of an integrated inmate management system, which aimed at implementing a more reliable, centralized inmate database and an agile inmate management environment solution for the benefit of DCS. That's what it remains. It remains a concept 3 years later, and we don't hear anything about this concept. 243 correctional centres and 218 community centres were targeted for this IMS project rollout. This project has fallen by the wayside, it seems. Even more concerning is the department's failure to implement a mini drug master plan. They say they participate in the National Drug Master Plan. This week, with International Day Against Drug Abuse and Illicit Drug Trafficking, I asked for a program and they couldn't even present one. What is the plan to combat drug abuse, if not this? What is their strategy? There is none. We are also alarmed by the 5.2 billion allocated for administration, much of which goes to employee compensation. Yet it is these very employees, those entrusted to uphold order, who are often implicated in smuggling in contraband, cell phones, drugs, whatever you name it, with very little accountability. Our prisons remains insecure because we call them centres. Still no cell phone blockers, still compromised security systems. During an oversight, members witnessed how drugs and contrabands get transported from one prison cell to the next on a string and a broom. Today, when you visit those prisons, those centres, you see the same brooms and you see the same strings continuing to hang out that window. I asked the minister, how much do we spend on an inmate? Just a reminder to South Africans, 17,000 rand per month. This is why we allocate 17.9 billion to incarceration. Prisoners live in relative comfort while our communities are being destroyed, broken, under-resourced and forgotten. Recent videos from raids we welcome, have proven one thing, that what we run in the centre has proven one thing, what we run in the centre. We run spaza shops and we run drug dens. But it is a centre that lacks will, it lacks ethics, and it lacks common sense, something money cannot buy. We cannot continue these so-called correctional centres while delivering no correction. Action SA calls for a complete rethink of the correctional system, one grounded in accountability, transparency, and above all, real rehabilitation, where inmates repair the communities they've devastated, not retreat from them or reoffend in them. The reality is, what we see during oversight is staged. What we told during meetings, as I just told you, what was told in 2022 is scripted. Budget will never be adequate for as long as we call these prisons centers. I thank you.
Thank you. We now invite the Honorable Deputy Minister of Correctional Service, Honorable Charlie.
Thank you very much, Honorable House Chair. The Minister of Correctional Services, Portfolio Chairperson on Correctional Services, Portfolio Committee members, Honorable Members of Parliament, our National Commissioner of Correctional Services, our Inspecting Judge of the Judicial Inspectorate for Correctional Services, Parole Board members, fellow South Africans. Our message today here is centered on rehabilitation as the cornerstone of our work. We are repositioning correctional centers as sites of meaningful education and skill building. We wish to inform this House that our investment is accredited skills development facility is yielding results. The drive is to have all our training sites receive full accreditation through partnership with the manufacturing, engineering, and related services sector, education and training, your MESATA, Quality Council for Trades and Occupations, and even global technology conglomerates such as Cisco. We are creating skills training opportunities in welding, textile, technology, amongst many others. These initiatives aim to prepare inmates for employability, dignity, and contribution post-incarceration. Our partnerships are expanding. We are engaging with the National School of Government, Safety and Security Sector Education and Training Authority, and the Professional Firearm Trainers Council to ensure that our programs are nationally relevant and practical beneficial. The Barberton, Thohoyandou, Witbank, and Standerton management areas are at the forefront of these transformation. Not only are they securing accreditation, but they are also mentoring neighboring centers, establishing a pipeline of the best practices. This partnership with Blackstar and Merseta at Grootvlei will yield 60 offenders being trained in welding in the upcoming financial year, a clear signal that we are scaling impact. This is critical to highlight all these efforts that are in addition to these existing establishments. To ensure continuity, we are moving to accelerate the recruitment over the MTEF period. The goal is to enroll 6,192 learners over the next 3 years, with 3,096 annually. The Department of Correctional Services, with the much needed human capital to strengthen safety, rehabilitation, reintegration services. The Human Resources Directorate will ensure that half of those will be recruited and are youth with grade 12 and NQF level 4 qualification. The remaining half are drawn from candidates from the correctional services related qualifications, prioritizing penology, criminology, and skilled align in terms of your self-sufficient strategy. The department is not waiting for society to change, but we are shaping it ourselves. In KwaZulu-Natal, Eastern Cape, Western Cape, Northern Cape, our officials are working very hard with parolees and community partners in building homes for destitute families, the use of offender labor, and donate materials which are restoring hope and for offending second chance to those that are incarcerated, but those who live within the margins of the society. Offender talent is also being channeled into a creative economy. 7 arts and craft galleries have now been established across 6 regions. I hope as you walk into the chamber, you've seen our paints there, you've seen what we're doing. This is the skills that we're giving and the produce that are coming from the self-sufficiency programs. These galleries offer a new narrative, one that sees incarcerated individuals as citizens with potential, not permanent labels, because we must do away with the stigma. We are particularly proud of the strides made in education. The launch of the telematic system in the Johannesburg Female Center in August 2024 is a game changer. The digital platform supported a 100% pass rate in our facility. Nationally, 171 inmate learners set for the 2024 National Senior Certificate exams, achieving a commendable 96.2% pass rate, including 110 bachelor passes and 135 distinctions. This is what we're doing. This is not just merely about numbers. It is about the life redirected through knowledge and learning. We're investing further in our schools. In Witbank Correctional Center has fully secured the full-time schooling accreditation for grade 10 to 12, with classes set to begin in 2026. At Standerton, grade 8 to 9 are already in session in 2025 academic year, with grade 12 coming on the stream by 2026. These schools run in collaboration with Department of Basic Education. So we must do away with this thing that we are teaching them but were not accredited. Reflect our unwavering belief in the redemptive power of education. Honorable members, our focus on improving welfare of our officials remain unwavering, and I must indicate that Toyonde official is back to its residence, is no longer staying in hotel. Official must be able to respond to emergencies with speed, professionalism, and for that suitable accommodation, it is vital because we are governed by pieces of legislation that if you do work, you must be accommodated as such. I am pleased to report to this that we've constructed new staff accommodation in Ntata and Beggersdorp correctional facilities underway, along with the refurbishment of the existing merit quarters. We have a fully institutionalized Life is a Garden campaign to promote clean, green, and well-kept correctional facilities environment, offering both aesthetic value and personal pride for our official and our inmates. One of the noteworthy highlights of our progress has been the successful collaboration with global and local sporting entities, notably the FIFA Foundation and Premier South African Soccer Clubs. The twinning project between now operational several management areas across Gauteng, it is an embodiment of power to sport rehabilitation and uplift. The graduation of 15 female offenders in partnership with Kaizer Chiefs is a testament to this inclusive nature of our rehabilitation efforts. We also have launched a focused youth in partnership with Mamelodi Sundowns that reached 48 juvenile offenders and SuperSport United in Kgoshi-Mampuru management area. These initiatives are more than recreational but transportive tools for social reintegration and self-worth. This budget is not just about appropriating funds, but it's about affirming a vision that is geared to have correctional system that is secure, rehabilitative, and integrated with community upliftment. A system that places a human being at the center, regardless of their past. While we always secure public safety remains paramount. To enhance community oversight and collaboration, we have reviewed and revitalize our policy on community corrections forum. Those forums will continue to work closely with community policing forums and our community safety forums, acting as grassroots mechanism, monitoring integration, reintegration, and prevention of recidivism. Since we came into office, we have shown that it is possible what we're doing now. Now, we must just intensify our journey ahead with discipline, empathy, and accountability. And we remain accountable to this House. Let us also continue to build a correctional service department that heals our nation, because we need healing as a nation. We must make sure that we must continue to build a safer and a just South Africa, because South Africa Tomorrow, it needs peace, it needs safer environment. Corrections, it is a societal matter. I thank you, Honorable.
I now invite the Honorable Swartz.
Thank you, House Chair. House Chair, the ACDP is aware that this department is a receiver department. And so as crime increases and as the call for society increases for more people to be locked away, so this department has to receive all those waiting trial prisoners and sentenced prisoners. And this leads to the perennial problem of overcrowding, which negatively impacts rehabilitation and places the security of inmates and officials at risk. One of the ways of dealing with this is Section 49G, and it's concerning when so few applications have been approved by the judiciary. And I do think further engagement needs to be taken in that regard, or the Act needs to be amended in that regard. Another way of dealing with overcrowding is that foreign nationals who have been sentenced should serve their sentences in their home countries. And that is a process, obviously, which we understand, Minister, Deputy Minister, is an engagement with Home Affairs. The third aspect, of course, is to reduce recidivism by effective rehabilitation. And thank you, Deputy Minister, for pointing that out, because we in the ACDP strongly believe in rehabilitation, in restorative justice. Those criminals that are not a danger to society, those offenders that are not a danger to society, should have a concept of restorative justice applied to them. And that is very important in our view. We are also, as the ACDP, very concerned about the high levels of corruption, of contraband in the prison services. And so we welcome and we commend the Minister for the unannounced visits, the Deputy Minister as well, and we would urge the Portfolio Committee to engage in more unannounced visits. We also wish to commend the Commissioner for the night visits that he's had, the surprise visits that has unearthed a lot of evil things that are happening, a lot of illegal actions. And I've often thought when I served on the committee, what would it be like for us as members of Parliament to visit a prison at night and to see what goes on there, unannounced? And I think that also is a very important aspect that we need to look into. It is obviously very important for us to also bear in mind that whilst we need to balance society's rightful cry for justice and for punishment, but at the same time for the aspect of what Hebrews 13 says, remember those in prison as if you were there yourself. So there should be the element of compassion as well to ensure that those that are in prison, that serve sentences, come out rehabilitated and then are good models in society. We are concerned about those parolees that recommit offences. So obviously there is a challenge in that regard, but the ACDP, given these challenges, but given progress in the department, will support this budget vote. I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Swart. We now invite the Honorable Nontenja.
Thank you, Honorable House Chair, and greetings. The United Democratic Movement believes in a justice system that rehabilitates and that restores. However, this budget does not reflect those values. It reflects containment without correction, spending without strategy, and a system that has given up on its own purpose. Over 60% of this department's 29.5 billion budget is consumed by incarceration, a staggering 17.9 billion. Yet only 8% goes to rehabilitation and an insulting 4% to social reintegration. The very core of the department is rehabilitation, and yet this budget does not reflect any of those cores. The 1.2 billion allocated to program of social integration is merely a revolving door back to the prison. And sadly, the poor interventions of this program are some of the root causes for parolees to reoffend. We cannot expect parolees to reintegrate into society with no jobs, no mentorship, no support. The committee's report acknowledges the mismatch between spending and performance, but instead of solutions, we are saved with lowered targets rather than improved. It is also important to note that overcrowding continues to plague our correctional facilities. The department says it wants to reduce overcrowding to under 50%. The UTM hopes that the high investment in the incarceration program will help fix the overcrowding as it also negatively impacts the rehabilitation process. Finally, the UTM supports the committee's call for improved self-sufficiency in correctional centers through artisan employment, agricultural training, and meaningful workshop participation. This would not only aid reintegration, but also reduce the financial burden on the state in the long term. I thank you.
We now invite the Honorable Ghana.
Deputy Minister, I want to deliver my speech. Honorable members, fellow South Africans, one thing that is clear is that we are not safe. Many of us live in fear, in our homes, in the streets, even in the schools that we send our children to. We have in many communities in South Africa that are unsafe. As Rising Suns, we exist to build a safe, prosperous, equal and united South Africa within a generation. But let us be clear, there will be no prosperity where there is no safety. Correctional services has a meaningful role to play in achieving that safety. The department is not just about locking people away. It is about contributing to a just, peaceful, and safer South Africa. But how can this be done effectively when the department is underfunded? The budget of just under 30 billion, while large on paper, is not nearly enough when you consider the high number of offenders, the overcrowding in our prisons, and the lack of rehabilitation programs, and the shortage of qualified personnel. Correctional services carries two critical responsibilities: incarceration and rehabilitation. What we do know is that South Africans want to see justice. They want to see criminals paying for their crimes. Justice must not only be done, but it must also be seen to be done. We need to be clear as Rising Suns. To us, parole is not a right. It is a privilege, and one that must be earned through good behavior, genuine remorse, and demonstrated rehabilitation. The current practice of treating parole as a routine administrative step must come to an end, because it has led to some individuals being released into communities that are not being prepared for. Some crimes, especially those that are committed by repeat violent offenders and those sentenced to life imprisonment, must be excluded from parole consideration. The safety of our people must come first. We do know that in the third quarter of the 2024-2025, over 18,000 parolees reoffended while on parole or on their probation period. At the same time, we need to be innovative, Minister. It's not corporal punishment that we need. It's community service. There are many people that are housed in correctional facilities that shouldn't be there. And we have said this before to say, let's send them back to work in communities for free. Let's not reintroduce corporal punishment, but let's make them pay for their crimes. Let them clean the streets, let them clean the graveyards so that they pay for the crimes that they've committed against the communities. That's our proposal, and not returning to corporal punishment.
Thank you, Honorable Ghana. I now invite the Honorable J. Engelbrecht. Order, honorable members. No, it's not. No, honorable member. There are honorable members who are not participating, who are following before Honorable Engelbrecht. You are invited to the podium, honorable member.
Thank you very much. Honorable Chairperson, Minister Groenewald, Deputy Minister in Charlie, Judge Cameron, colleagues, in a setting where resources are shrinking and demand for those resources is rising, creating a practical budget becomes challenging. And here we are today. To deliberate on a budget that touches the very core of our justice system, the humane incarceration, rehabilitation and reintegration of offenders. The Department of Correctional Services has been allocated 29.2 billion rand for the current financial year, a 5.27 nominal increase. However, beneath this increase lies a sobering reality of systemic failures, fiscal waste, and policy neglect that continue to undermine the department's constitutional mandate. For years, billions of rand have been lost to irregular and wasteful expenditure, from Bosasa scandals to overinflated administration costs and misaligned priorities. Rehabilitation and reintegration, the heartbeat of Correctional Services mission, receives just 12% of the total budget. This cannot continue. Employee compensation alone consumes 20.5 billion rand, over 70% of the entire budget. Yet critical posts remain vacant. Vehicles are slashed from 49 million to 41 million, and infrastructure progress is erratic. This is not prudent budgeting. It's a consequence of years of mismanagement. The department's purpose is not only to detain, but to reform. Yet only 2.2 billion is allocated to rehabilitation and 1.2 billion to social reintegration. Just 84% of offenders complete programs, and the parole violation rate is 3%. South Africa cannot reduce crime if transformation within prison walls is under-resourced. You cannot budget for containment and hope for rehabilitation. The continued overcrowding of correctional centers, driven largely by remand detainees, is a humanitarian and logistical crisis. The remand detention sub-program gets only 874 million, a mere 5% of the incarceration budget. There must be coordinated action across the justice, crime prevention and security cluster. If bail systems are broken, we must innovate. If court backlogs persist, we must intervene. The recent decision to reduce performance targets is unacceptable. Escapes, inmate assaults, and unnatural deaths remain high. Lowering expectations doesn't solve problems, it hides them. Amidst all this, there is still hope. Inmates who participate in education and training programs often show the best chance of successful reintegration. Facilities that invest in agriculture and skills training have already started showing signs of self-sustainability. These pockets of progress prove that transformation is possible if we commit to it meaningfully. To our correctional officers working under immense pressure and in overcrowded and dangerous conditions, your sacrifice and perseverance do not go unnoticed. You are the frontline defenders of safety and rehabilitation. You deserve tools, respect, and leadership that match your commitment. So what should be done? A shift in resources meaningfully towards rehabilitation and reintegration. Strengthen collaboration with SAPS, the NPA, and the Department of Justice to unclog the remand detainees that overwhelms the system. Fill vacancies, curb reliance on consultants, and ensure expenditure matches impact. Accelerate legislative reforms to ensure that we have a functioning and effective parole system and that the entire correctional system becomes more efficient and self-sufficient. Honorable Chairperson, this budget may not fix everything, but it should be used to turn the tide, to start rebuilding what has been broken and to restore dignity and purpose to our correctional system. All the best to the National Commissioner, Tobagale, and his team, who inherited most of these problems. I thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member. We now invite the Honourable Miela.
Thank you, House Chair. Greetings to the members of the Executive, Deputy Minister, and Minister Groenewald, the National Commissioner, Inspecting Judge, Judge Cameroon, Parole Board members, honorable members, and South African citizen. I stand to affirm that the ANC support this budget allocation that has been tabled for the 2025-2026 financial year as per the circumstances outlined by our comrade Honorable Ramolobeng, who is the chair of the Portfolio Committee. Indeed, it is worth mentioning that the budget, it is in line with our policy priorities, and we support it based on both continuity and change. With regard to incarceration and security, though we welcome the relatively low numbers of prison escape across the country, we need to emphasize the need to ensure maximum security in all correctional facilities. Security measures are essential to prevent escapes, smuggling, contrabands, and other security breaches that could potentially endanger officials. Inmates and the public, in a number of the oversight visits across the centers, we have noted a number of contrabands, including drugs, cell phones, money which have legally made their way into the correctional centers. Correctional centers are places of rehabilitation, and contrabands act contrary to the process of rehabilitation. It has also been our observation that the areas where some of the centers are located make it easy for the smuggling in of contraband. It is indeed common knowledge that the department is having a challenge with perimeter fencing around the facility to close off the facility from smuggling. The other concern has been the use of security systems and scanners to detect contrabands from visitors and officials coming into correctional facilities. As we face unprecedented levels of overcrowding in our facilities, we welcome the filling of vacancies in correctional supervision boards, and we trust that this will help alleviate the problem and no offender will be unreasonably denied parole due to the departmental deficiencies. As the correctional supervision boards commence with their work, we want to further emphasize on victim participation in correctional appeals to prevent re-traumatizing victims when they meet the perpetrators out on parole. With regard to care, we welcome the department's treatment and management of communicable diseases in the correctional facilities. Our oversight visits have indeed demonstrated that healthcare and treatment tracking and tracing is taken very seriously in the centers. We also welcome the use of offender labor to help build clinics and pharmacies in some of the centers. The availability and access to medicine is of critical importance in ensuring the provision of comprehensive primary health care services to the inmates. We remain concerned with the shortage and number of skilled professionals, such as social workers, psychologists, and psychiatrists who can facilitate rehabilitation programs for the inmates. The ratio is currently standing at 1:240, which means on social worker, healthcare practitioner is responsible for overseeing 240 inmates. This is without a doubt a recipe for a disaster. We wish to see a fully fledged correctional center, adequately resourced with staff and skilled personnel who are able to bring meaningful counseling and rehabilitation services to the inmates. We remain shocked at the number of natural and unnatural death recorded in correctional facilities every quarter. The high numbers and vague explanations evoke a memory of a poem by Chris van Wyk called In Detention. In detention, he fell from the 9th floor. He hanged himself. He slipped on a piece of soap while washing. He hanged himself. Those were the brutal and vague excuses that the police and correctional officials gave during apartheid when accounting for the deaths of prisoners. Vague and insincere. We condemn any acts of violence taking place in correctional facilities. We were deeply disappointed to learn about the inmate's death at Mangaung Correctional Facility that was framed as a natural death until further investigation, where it became apparent that some correctional officials were actually involved in the killing of this inmate. He died from asthma, they reported, until a postmortem report revealed that he was pepper sprayed to death. The state is responsible for the inmate's safety and custody, and there can never be any excuse for torture and excessive use of force. I wish to reiterate that rights and human rights of prisoners are indivisible and inalienable. With regard to rehabilitation and social integration, honorable members, the former Secretary General of the United Nations, Kofi Annan, held that no one is born a good citizen and no nation is born a democracy. Rather, both are processes that continue to evolve over a lifetime. Young people must be included from birth. A society that cuts off from its youth serves its lifeline. This goes hand in hand with the English proverb that says, the child who is not embraced by the village will burn it down to feel its warmth. This simply means that when individuals feel rejected or excluded, they are more likely to resort to destructive behavior in an attempt to get attention or a sense of belonging. This highlights the importance of community support and need for social integration and rehabilitation. We know that the rehabilitation program is the second smallest allocated program in terms of the budget and comprises of only 8% of the total budget for the year of 2025 and 2026 financial year. The program has been allocated 2.2 billion, which is 3.93% more than the allocation of the previous year's allocation. Honorable members, we congratulated the department on trying to offer diverse programs aimed at providing inmates with second chances. We note the 96% metric pass rate in the 2024-2025 year, and we are confident that the department will continue in that particular manner. People in correctional facilities must be given second chances to learn and self-correct and acquire skills that will be able to engage them meaningfully in the economy. Though there are various programs available, we are concerned with the actual number of offenders participating in these programs vis-a-vis the total inmate population. We urge the Department of Correctional Services to encourage greater participation in the rehabilitation programs and make use of the partnerships to offer rehabilitative programs to offenders. Noting the relatively high numbers of overcrowding, particularly in the third and fourth quarter, we are now forced to look into alternative sentencing arrangements, including community corrections. We welcome the expansion and diversification of community correction systems. The reintegration of offenders under the systems of community corrections provides offenders with an opportunity to lead a society on a social responsible life within their communities. Since the advent of democracy, community corrections has become a core component of the criminal justice system as it provides a useful alternative to incarceration. Community correction is a much needed shift in focus from sanction and deterrence to rehabilitation and reintegration, and we must encourage more on these non-custodial sentencing arrangements. Honorable members, as the African National Congress, we support this budget, and I thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Muela. We now invite the Honorable Minister, Honorable Minister Groenewald.
Dankie, agbare voorsitter. Firstly, I want to thank all the members participating in this debate. And it is quite clear that there are some issues that is generally worrying for the honorable members. Firstly, let me start, and I want to agree with the Honorable Engelbreg when he said, you cannot eradicate crime without rehabilitation. That's true. Quite a couple of speakers here referred to rehabilitation. And the fact of the matter is, if a criminal receives a sentence of 10 years, after 10 years, even if he or she does not get parole, he or she is back in society. And therefore, we have a responsibility to ensure that they are successfully reintegrated in our societies and preventing them to continue with criminality. So we understand that. It was referred by the Rais Mzansi, the Honorable Ghana, the UDM, the ACDB, Honorable Swart, and he also put quite emphasis on restorative justice. I agree. That is what we should look at because it's a change of heart to ensure that you won't continue with your crime. It was also raised by Action SA, the Honorable James, and I know the Honorable member, she's very vigilant when it comes to rehabilitation. And I understand that. Die agbare Denner is heeltemal korrek as hy sê dat dit help nie ons stel teikens, ons weet ons gaan dit nie behaal nie, en dit is soms meer demoraliserend vir jou werknemers, want hulle sien hierdie onmoontlikheid voor hulle. Dit moet 'n realistiese teiken wees wat behaal kan word, want daar is niks wat so inspirerend is vir werknemers as hulle teikens haal nie. Daarom stem ek heeltemal saam daarmee. When it comes to foreign prisoners, the Honorable Daniels from the Patriotic Alliance, you're quite right. And let me say, and some other members referred also to foreign nationals in our prisons, it is costing the taxpayer of South Africa 460 rand per day for each and every prisoner. So you can make your calculations. If we look at foreigners in our facilities, we have about 24,000 of them. And that is costing the taxpayer 11 million per day, more or less, per day. Therefore, I can assure that we are in conversation and meetings to see how we can deport these foreigners, that they go and serve their further sentence at their places. In fact, you would remember that I said there were foreigners who I approved the parole, but they were immediately deported back to their country of origin. Overall, Honourable Chair, it's about the budget. And the Honourable Chair from the Portfolio Committee, the Honourable Ramabolobeng, you referred to the infrastructure. You're quite right, but it's costing money. And you're also correct when it comes to triple Ps, that after the Thabo Bester issue, we will have to reconsider. And you're also correct when it comes to the remand detainees. Can I say on the budget, because everyone agrees that there's a problem when it comes to the budget. Now, let me say, as far as the EFF and the MK party is concerned, I agree with you. There are shortfalls in the budget, critical shortfalls. But it is your decision, and I respect it if you rejected the budget. Just remember, I don't hope you succeed completely with that, because then we're going to get even less than the 29 billion for this financial year. Lastly, allow me, Honourable Chair, just to mention, I know my time is gone, just allow me. I already wrote a letter to the President requesting that correctional services are going back to the security cluster. It's the President to make the decision, and that will open doors for more funds when it comes to correctional services, because we must be seen part of the security and crime prevention in South Africa. I want to thank my personnel in my office, the Deputy Minister, the National Commissioner, all officials, members of Parliament, members of the Portfolio Committee, Chair of the Portfolio Committee. I thank you that we can take hands together to solve this problem to the best interest of each and every South African. I thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Honourable members, you are reminded that the debate on the Office of the Chief Justice budget vote will take place in this chamber at 16:30. That concludes the debate and the business of the mini plenary. The mini plenary may now rise.